What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and if you walk into Verizon right now, well, there aren't any 4G LTE phones at this second, but they're coming soon. But let's say you're eligible for an upgrade. You broke your phone, you need something right now, and you want an Android device. Well, they have a couple of good devices in their lineup right now. One being the Motorola Droid Pro, another being the Samsung Fascinate, a member of the Galaxy S line. So you have a Motorola device with a keyboard, one with a Super AMOLED display. Which one's going to win? We're going to pit them together in a dogfight to see which one's the best for you. First, special thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile. They've hooked us up with two of these, so we can give them away to you in our One Paw Bandit game, because we like to see you win. You know, we're giving away iPads, tablets, and phones in our One Paw Bandit game as a way of saying thanks to you. When you go into Best Buy, you walk out working. You don't have to deal with setting it up on your own. You can walk in, they'll help you set up your email and your web, so you're good to go. Enough of that, let's get into it. So both of these devices have 7 home screens, and you can scroll through those obviously by scrolling left or right. And you have the same thing here. You'll notice at the top of the Fascinate and at the bottom of the Droid Pro, you can scroll through, you can see which menu you're on with the Droid Pro. You can scroll through them there pretty quickly. Or on this one, you can see which one you're on. We're on number 4, number 5, number 6, for example. And you can click the wrench to drag the screen up and change the order if you want to. So we could change buddies now. Let's say we'll pull that one out. Well, no, we'll pull this one out, let's say. Where's it? I can't remember how. Let's see here. Pull it out, or you can delete it. And then you can add a new one. And then pull it just like that. So you can customize. Didn't want to operate there for me for a second. You can customize those from the settings. Let's take a look at the browsers on both of these devices, because obviously, you know, this is running Android 2.1, so it doesn't have Flash out of the box. And won't have it until Android 2.2. This one does have it, but the question is, on a smaller display, is the browsing experience still as good? We'll find out. Let's take a look at my favorite site in the entire world. I may be a little bit biased, but yeah, that's okay. Phone Dog. Let me try this. Phone Dog. Hey, I did it. .com. There we go. Okay, so while we're waiting for those to load, you have your typical Android browser set up here with both of these devices. You have new window, bookmarks, windows, stop, forward, things like that. And you'll notice, because this is a Verizon device, the Moto Blur background colors are red. And you notice that in the little icons that were down there as we were scrolling between the menus as well. So typical there, typical here as well. Windows, stop, everything's placed in a similar place. But let's go to Windows and say, while Phone Dog's loading, you want to open up a second page. You can certainly do that. ESPN.com. Almost did it. And while we're waiting for that to load, you say, I don't want to wait for that to load either. I'm going to go back to Phone Dog. You can do that. Now, obviously, pinch to zoom is very responsive on the Galaxy S line and on the Fascinate, because, again, it's not running Flash. So you look up here and you see little flash broken icons of sadness up there in the advertisements, and you can see the pinch to zoom is reasonably fast. Now you can see those advertisements on this one, so you can see pinch to zoom still good, don't get me wrong, but it is a little bit slower than the Fascinate. So it is, you know, Flash definitely takes its toll in the browsing experience. So for me, you know, and for anybody, you have to decide. First of all, this is going to get Android 2.2 at some point, so Flash will be enabled. But, you know, you have the option to enable or disable Flash. So it's, do you want the faster browsing experience, or do you want the ability to see ads and see other Flash content? For me, if I'm browsing on a mobile device, rarely do I actually use Flash, so I prefer the faster experience. Maybe different for you, but you can pinch to zoom, or tap to zoom in on both of those. Bam, bam. And same thing here as well, but you can just see that it's a little faster on this one. But you also, let's jump back into that. I pulled back out too fast. Let's see. I'll go back in, because I want you to see, even though yes, it has a 4-inch Super AMOLED display, just take a look at the color difference between the two. You know, it's a noticeable, absolutely gorgeous color on the Fascinate, and whereas this one, you know, obviously its specialty is global roaming, and you know, a nice replacement to BlackBerry, but the screen is not the best in the world on the Droid Pro. If you're coming into this thing, I want an awesome screen, that's what matters to me, and browsing the web, even though this does have Flash, I'd still recommend the Fascinate just because of the large screen size and the thin profile. I had to plug the Motorola Droid Pro in because, you know, when those batteries go, they go. You know, and about 10 minutes ago it was at 10%. You saw in the last clip it was knocked down to 5 pretty quickly. So it goes down. It gives you that warning, and then it's ready to turn off. But anyway, let's take a look at the cameras on both of these devices. Both have 5 megapixel cameras, and not to spoil it for you, but the Fascinate takes the cake in the camera department. Not just because it has a Super AMOLED display, but when you look at the camera quality after you take the picture, it's just a kind of a grainy, blurry quality to the Motorola 5 megapixel camera that I'm just really disappointed with. It's not great at all overall. I'm not pleased with it, and you see it after you've taken the picture. So we'll do that one, for example, and you see it's kind of hard to tell on the camera, but we'll pop it up there. You can see a lot of blurriness around the hinge there where it says AT&T, and some blurriness around the edge or the hinge of the torch. Then you bring in one like this, and you have the you know, while I'm frustrated that there's no dedicated camera button, you do have your autofocus. And overall, I just find it to be a much better, higher quality picture than the Droid Pro. I just found in all environments, be it well-lit situations like this, you know, kind of well-lit situations like outside at 4 o'clock, like what it is right now, to low-lit, the Droid Pro in most cases just did not deliver, you know, a quality image like the Fascinate did. So in the camera department, I have to give it to the Fascinate. But in terms of editing options, you have this little slide-out drawer here that gives you some basic editing options, and then you have your more advanced stuff like outdoor visibility, scene mode, focus mode, shutter sound, things of that nature. And you can pop this back out, your flash, exposure, the shooting mode you want, and then on the Motorola, let's go back to the camera application. Then you have some tag. You can tag your picture modes and your settings, your basic settings in there as well. So, you know, neither one of these are running the stock Android camera app, so the settings are a little bit different, but you do have some reasonable customization options in the settings for the cameras. Let's take a look at quadrant standard because, hey, speed tests are where it's at, and both of these devices are billed as high-end Android devices, so it'll be interesting to see which one comes out on top. Let's go over to quadrant standard on this one. And, you know, kind of a disclaimer, this is running Android 2.1. It may come out slower because Android 2.2 does improve the overall speed of the device. So we'll see. Run full benchmark, and we'll take a look. Now, you know, my observations with both of these devices, the call quality's been decent. The speakerphone's been okay. I did have some problems with the earpiece on the Droid Pro. It wasn't as good as I would have liked it to have been. It was very tinny sounding at its highest volume. I was having trouble not hearing, but everybody sounded like they had this tinny aspect to their voice. Kind of frustrating there, and again, you would think that that would be priority for them for a global device, for a device that's appealing to business people. Obviously, voice is a priority, if not the priority. So you would think that would be something they would take into consideration. Otherwise, you know, call quality, pretty decent. Signal strength, okay. I took it to Verizon Dead Spot. Both of these maintained a call. But you know, the interesting thing is this one shows less bars. Not that it's an issue, but you know, there's much more to consider than actual bars that you see on a display. But that may turn some customers away from the Fascinate. So you know, it's 6 1/2 dozen or the other. The battery life on the Droid Pro, that's where it is really, really a frustration. The Fascinate's not great by any means, and it takes a while to charge. But the Droid Pro, it dies pretty quickly. I never made it through a day, or rarely made it through a day with this device. Let's take a look, and we'll have to rerun that one because it just gave me an error. But let's see what the Droid Pro came out at. 1490 in the quadrant standard test. So we have 1,490 here and 886. So way behind on the Fascinate, which is interesting because this one feels faster in day-to-day use, much faster actually than the Droid Pro does. But it goes to show, you know, speed testing at least with quadrant standard tells a different score. No pun intended. 1,490, 886 on that one. Let's take a look at speed test, and that'll be the last of our tests. Okay, both loaded up on Charlotte, both Verizon devices. Let's do a speed test and see where they stand. Now, you know, there's a Verizon cell site right beside my office, so these speed tests theoretically should be very good, but looks like it's doing decently on, both of these are EVGO revision A devices. It looks like it's doing decently on the Fascinate, about 1.5 megabits per second on the download, but only 687 kilobits per second on the download of the Droid Pro. So pretty abnormal there. 833 kilobits per second here, a measly 123. Let's do one more test just to make sure it's not an anomaly. And let's see. You know, again, higher numbers for the Fascinate, looking at about, although they dropped down right when I said that, so I think I just cursed it. About 1 megabit per second on the Fascinate, 700 megabits per second roughly, or kilobits per second rather, on the Droid Pro. So still, these numbers are not great. Upload 660 kilobits per second. I don't know what it is. Charlotte's wireless connectivity is horrible. That could play a role. And also, it is rush hour. And Charlotte and the cell site is pretty heavily trafficked during rush hour, so that could be an issue as well. But needless to say, not great, but it is a dogfight, so I'm crowning the winner. The Verizon Samsung Fascinate. Fantastic device, all around the device that I would choose, unless, the one caveat, unless you need the keyboard or you're traveling internationally on a regular basis. Otherwise, go with this one and pick another international device when you travel, because this, in my opinion, between the two, is the better device. And even if I'm traveling 1 month out of the year, personally, I'd rather have this device for 11 months out of the year. Both are okay. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of pros about the Droid Pro, no pun intended. But I would much prefer the Fascinate based on its combination of features and everything it has to offer. Much more coverage to come on both of these devices on PhoneDog.com. And if you haven't already, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. We're still giving away iPads. It's the final week of PhoneDog's 100 iPad and tablet giveaway. We're doing giveaways on Thursday and on Monday, January 24th, both at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you like us now, you still have the opportunity to win. Head over to the Facebook page to find out more about that. Follow me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron. Let me know, am I crazy? Is that the smartest decision I've ever made in a dogfight? Whatever, you tell me. PhoneDog_Aaron. Thanks so much for watching. Keep it locked on the site for news, reviews, and more. We'll see you next time.